We return now to Scotland, this time to Muirfield, where a famous finish won our host the first of his 3 British Opens.
The 448-yard par 4 18th hole here at Muirfield, in my opinion, is the best hole on this golf course. This golf course is my favorite golf course, and I think the best golf course on the British Open rotation. I'll never forget 1966. I was standing on this tee needing 4 to win. I have a bunker on the right that sits about 240 yards out. I have 2 bunkers on the left side of the fairway, and I needed to put the ball short of those 2 bunkers on the left and the left of the bunker on the right. I selected a 1-iron with a small ball then. I was then left with a 3-iron to the green, which I hit into the middle of the green. Two putted for a par and won my first British Open.
The 18th also held a lot of drama in the 1987 British Open. Former Open champions Seve Ballesteros and Greg Norman, with a chance to be among the leaders in the first round, hit their drives in the heart of the fairway, but pulled their second shots into the same green side bunker. Uncharacteristically, both players failed to get out of the sand. On their 4th shots, Norman left himself with a 10-footer, and Seve got it to within 3 feet of the hole. But again, uncharacteristically, both players missed their bogey putts to take 6s and fall off the leaderboards. For Seve and Norman, unpleasant memories of the 18th at Muirfield. But for Nick Faldo, the 18th is a fond memory. After 17 straight pars, Faldo had this 5-footer, which proved to be the winning stroke in the 1987 British Open. We'll be back with more long par 4s in just a moment. As we return to Riviera for our next long par 4, it's time to clear up an apparent contradiction.
Jack, the 18th here at Riviera is universally acclaimed as a fine golf hole. But I do have a question for you. It seems of the 10 par 4s that you have chosen, 5 of them begin with blind tee shots, and you're a person who doesn't like to design blind tee shot holes. Now, can you explain this to...
Well, Jack, what I really call a blind shot is one that you really don't have any idea where the ball is going to land. This hole here at Riviera is defined on the right side by the eucalyptus trees. It's defined on the left side by a hill. You have 3 Canary Island palms on the left side of the fairway. You aim at the middle one, and you cut the ball off of that. There's a little knob in the top of the hill that you try to drive the ball over. So you try to drive it in that area up there, and you know that the fairway slopes left to right. If you hit it to the right of the knob, you've got a chance of being behind the eucalyptus tree. So I think this is pretty well defined, even though you can't see it. And I don't ever really mind not seeing the ball land. And where I really dislike a blind shot is when you have a green and there isn't any trees or anything back there to be able to describe what's going on. So oddly enough, I've chosen some holes that start with blind tee shots, but they finish with such great second shots. And I love the holes so much, and they've meant so much to me in the game of golf that I put them right in there.
Well, this hole has a great second shot, too, doesn't it?
It's got a great second shot. We're here, it's 447 yards. It plays uphill all the way. We're playing with prevailing westerly wind, which is downwind on this hole. Even with a real good tee shot, you're left with a middle iron to the green. When the wind blows the other way, you know, you take sometimes 2 woods to get home. It's a very strong hole, a great finishing hole, and you know, it's just one of my favorite holes.
From the 18th hole at the Riviera Country Club in Pacific Palisades, California, to the 18th hole at the Oakmont Golf Club in suburban Pittsburgh is almost a continent apart. But these 2 clubs are separated by a far greater distance in terms of ambience and tradition. Oakmont has hosted 9 major championships, 6 United States Opens, and 3 PGAs. It was founded and designed by Henry Founds in 1903, a Pittsburgh gentleman who wanted a stern, difficult test of golf. And that is what he got. With almost 200 traps and slick greens, Oakmont is as tough as the steel town that has nourished it. This is the 18th hole at Oakmont, one of its splendid tests. 456 yards. 456 yards of beautiful rolling Pennsylvania countryside, 456 yards of green, lush grass, 456 yards of terror. It has an elevated tee, but your second shot is uphill. In 1953, Ben Hogan birdied this hole for his third successive three, and that left Sam Snead 6 shots behind. In the 1962 Open, Jack Nicklaus parred this 18th hole in the final round. Arnold Palmer had a 10 to 12-foot birdie putt for the championship, but he missed it, and there had to be a playoff the next day. In that playoff, Nicklaus came to the 18th tee 2 shots up on Arnold Palmer, but he pull-hooked his drive into the general vicinity of the front part of this trap, which was not here in 1962. He landed in the rough in what he called a very ugly lie. Jack then played a wedge out of here, just short of that fairway trap, and from there a 9-iron, 12 feet from the pin. And that was the championship. Jack Nicklaus had won his first tournament as a professional. He had won his first United States Open championship, and his journey into golf history had begun. Who knows what changes would have occurred in the sport had Arnold been able to birdie this 18th hole in the final round. But he didn't. And this hole has become symbolic of the ascendancy of Jack Nicklaus as the prime figure in American golf. And it all happened here at the 18th hole at Oakmont, one of the pivotal holes in the ongoing drama that is major championship golf.
And now to the most famous of all holes in the royal and ancient game.
We've returned to St. Andrews for the last of Jack's par 4 holes, the famous road hole, the 17th. Why have you picked this, Jack?
Well, Jack, the road hole is probably the most famous par 4 in the world, and also one of the most interesting. It's, well, as a player comes here, he thinks about all the great players who have been here in the past, all the players who have had to get by the road hole to win the Open Championship at the Old Course. You just get an unbelievable feeling just walking down the hole and saying, gee, this is the most famous hole in the world. And if you didn't put that in my best 18, I just don't think we wouldn't have a best 18. The tee shot is over the Old Course Hotel. Used to be railway sheds. It puts you into the center of the fairway, but then that's when the golf begins.
Second shot?
Second shot. Into a green that's, the wind conditions are totally dictate how you're going to play it. With a following wind, you've got to play a bump and run. Into the wind, you might be able to carry it into the green, but you're always thinking road. The road sits right behind the back right of the green, and if you shy away from that, you've got the road bunker. How many people have played this hole and ended up on the road, or ended up in the road bunker, or putted into the road bunker? I mean, there's so many things have happened here. This is a hole that I try to play in the championship like a 4.5. I play it safely to the front part of the green. If I can get down in 2 putts, then I've made par, and I'm very happy. But I'm never really too unhappy with 5 here.
In the 1978 British Open, Jack played the perfect second shot into 17. With the championship hanging on each shot, he put it short of the road and away from the road bunker to put him in perfect position to make par. And with 2 putts, Jack went on to win his 3rd British Open. 6 years later, in the 1984 British Open, the 17th again played a pivotal role as Tom Watson was chasing his 6th British Open championship. With Seve Ballesteros and Tom tied for the championship, both had identical second shots to the green. Seve's landed in the front part of the green and rolled 20 feet from the hole for an easy par. Watson chose to attack the flag, flew it too far, and found the wrath of the most famous road in golf. The 17th at the Old Course proved to be the margin of Seve's victory. Up next, Jack's par 5s.
We've seen the par 3s now and the par 4s. It's time for the big ones, the par 5s. And Jack, what makes a great long hole?
Well, I think gamble really makes a great par 5, Jack, under the right conditions. And I've tried to choose par 5s like they would be holes that I would be designing in my own golf courses. For instance, I always like to build a par 5 that is reachable in 2 under most any conditions. Secondly, I like to take 2 par 5s that are reachable under certain conditions, but are very good 3-shot holes when the conditions aren't right. And of course, I like to pick 1 par 5 that is a 3-shot hole all the time.